All right.
Hello, folks.
I almost did like a Colin Coward thing. I almost went, ah.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh.
So welcome to episode 6 of the Don't Be Ridiculous podcast.
We had a week off
Had a
because
week off.
Jeremy was out of town
Yep.
playing playing bocce.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
bocce is a Paralympic sport for those people who don't know. So,
That's
and
right.
you're on Team USA, right?
Uh, basically, yeah. Basically.
Okay.
We'll see what happens. I mean, you're never official until you actually play in something, right? But yeah, if you're interested, check out the videos on my channel. It's me playing in a
Right.
tournament in Columbus, Ohio. So,
Yeah, so he was out of town, so we took a week off. Plus, I mean, it's still the off season of football, so well, college football gets started today, but still kind of the off season, so it's still kind of slow. So coming up with topics is a little difficult. Um, yeah, we were also talking about we've both been playing Tecmo Super Bowl a lot lately. And, I had been trying to go undefeated,
you know
and
what?
I was struggling. And then Jeremy picked up the game. He hadn't played it in forever, and he goes undefeated with the Vikings. So yeah,
You know what, Clark?
I,
This is a segment right here. You losing a Tecmo Bowl. You
yeah.
trying to go undefeated. Oh my God. We've got
Okay, so
to.
let's start at the beginning here. Okay, so
All right.
back in the day when we played this when we were kids, like I didn't really try to go undefeated. I had enough trouble winning games and winning the Super Bowl, whatever. I've won the Super Bowl and Tecmo Super Bowl numerous times, whatever. Okay, but going undefeated was always difficult because for those of you who've played particularly sports video games, I think you're familiar with the FU game. When you try to go undefeated in a sports game, particularly a football game, you go 7, 8, 9, 10 and 0, and then you reach the FU game where the game basically says you're not going to win. Everything you throw is going to get intercepted. You're going to fumble the ball. Everything's going to go wrong. So a few weeks ago, I started trying to do this. I said, I'm going to make this more difficult because if I figured, I was kind of disrespecting the game. I was like, you know what? I'll just pick a team that's not that good, and then I'll be able to do it, and it'll make it tougher, right? So I picked the Cincinnati Bengals. I remember Tecmo Super Bowl is the 1991 NFL season. So the
Yeah,
Bengals
so
were
let's back up. So the original Tecmo Bowl for all you millennials or people under I guess millennials would have played it,
well,
but
millennials we know, yeah, but people like the next generation and
right.
after me not.
So the original Nintendo Entertainment System, right, had a football game called Tecmo Bowl. Okay,
Well, they had the original Tecmo Bowl, which was
right.
it didn't even have all the teams, and then they came out with Tecmo Super Bowl, which was like a vast improvement. Plus, they had like all the players and all the teams, and you know they had playoffs and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
So you play a regular season just like you would in the NFL,
yeah,
and you pick one of these teams, and it's a 2D game, so you're playing
yeah,
across.
side scrolling.
You're right, side scrolling game, so it's not like not nowhere near the advanced football games we play today,
Yeah,
but it becomes really challenging, and for it's got it built into the game where it gets more difficult as the season goes along. So
yeah,
by the time you get to the end of the season and you get to the playoffs, it becomes a challenge.
yeah. So, like I said, I was disrespecting the game, thinking I'm going to do this with the Cincinnati Bengals, and we'd have to go back and look. I don't know if because remember the Bengals made the Super Bowl like 2 years
1990,
before that season. I don't know if they were still
1990
any
or
good.
88 or 89. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So this is 91. So they had Boomer Esiason, and that's kind of it. They didn't really have anybody else. So I tried to go undefeated with them. I got let's see, I played. I think I started off. I went like 5-0, and then I lost, and then I got to like 8-0 or something, and I lost, and then I got to 11-0 and lost to who did I lose to? The Steelers? No, I lost to the Raiders. That's right. Because I beat the Steelers and then I lost. So yeah, and then I tried to do it. I've tried to do it a few more times since then. It still hasn't worked. And then I tried Denver. I got to I think 7-0. I've gotten to no wait 8. Yeah, I've gotten to 7. Yeah, I've gotten to 8-0 with Denver, and that's it. So, but Jeremy picks it up and goes undefeated with the Vikings. So now, granted, I was able to go 11-0 with the Bengals. He was only able to go 5-0. So I got that going for me. which doesn't really mean anything, but whatever.
And
Um,
listen, don't let that give you the impression it was easy. It was not easy. Okay,
yeah,
there were definitely a handful of games that I could have lost that were difficult, and I had some challenges. But maybe I looked at it with fresh eyes that I haven't played it in a long time. I don't know, but I
yeah,
managed
no,
to
I
make
mean
it
it's
through.
well, I mean when I started playing it, I could tell my reflexes weren't where they normally were because I'm trying to, if you play Tecmo Super Bowl, basically there's a when you have the ball and you're running with it, there's a way to avoid defenders where you sort of zigzag up the field, and if you do it correctly and the guy's got enough speed, you could go from one end of the field to the other and score a touchdown. I mean, you can,
Right.
so you got to get good at that. You got to get good at playing defense, and it's just and I think you have to kind of balance. All right, this guy's covered. Am I going to throw to him now, or am I going to not throw to him? It's a challenge. So yeah, I think I've given up though. I don't think I can pull it off. Of course, I say that now. And tomorrow, I'll probably wake up in the morning and be like, "Damn it, I'm going to do this."
I
So
don't think you should give up, and what you should do is hold off for now, and let's figure out how to live stream this. And
oh
we should put up. We got to do that on a weekend. What we should do is figure out a way that we can live stream either you or both of us playing at the same time, trying to go undefeated at the same time.
yeah.
I think this is a good idea. I really do. Both
Yeah,
of us, because it's Tecmo Bowl doesn't have the HD big screen, so we could probably figure out
yeah,
a way to live stream it together, or we could just do it separately. Either way, and then we could just put up the recording when we're done.
yeah.
Um, anyway, all right. So I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. That's I don't want to tease everybody and then it not happen. So we'll we'll
Yeah, no,
we'll
we can
we'll,
pull
we'll,
it off.
it,
We just gotta get the
we'll
logistics. And I
endeavor.
got the emulator on my computer. I got the RetroArch emulator, so it has all these old systems on it
We
and
will
stuff.
endeavor to make that happen, folks. So
Yeah,
keep us posted.
that's to look forward to.
All right. So what do you want to talk about first? You want to do worst take of the week first, or do you
Oh
want
yeah,
to
ridiculous take of the week. So, well,
ridiculous
this is
take of the
ridiculous
week?
take
Here we
from two
go.
weeks ago because we were off. But
Yep.
um, yeah, so I was listening to the Levitard show on. Let's see, that would have been Tuesday. Hang on, Tuesday the. Let's see, Tuesday the 24th. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Yeah, the 24th, so of August. Um, and that's so football's coming up, right? We got college football and the NFL coming up. And Stugatz, I think Dan Levitar was off that day. So Stugatz is kind of leading the show, and he's just talking about, I'm really looking forward to football because I need something positive because all the news is negative because we got, hurricanes and we got COVID and we got, inflation and we got Afghanistan and he's like, I want to turn on my TV and see something positive, which I was fine with that. And they have like the show. I mean, I used to listen to the show a lot. I haven't listened to it that much in the last several years. But they've kind of expanded it now, so I guess it still has. Is it the shipping container of frightened refugees? I don't know if they still have
Yeah,
the.
they still call it that. Yeah.
Yeah, they still call it that. Okay, yeah. So they've got a bunch of people on there, and someone was saying, you know, yeah, I'm really looking forward to football this year, and I think we're all looking forward to football because, like last year, didn't you guys feel guilty about watching football? So I'm listening to this. I'm like, wait, what? What? She's like, well, yeah. I mean, we didn't really know exactly what was going on with COVID. Should we really be doing this? Is it really safe? And you know, which I just found. I'm like, well, should we have been ashamed of watching football? Before we knew about all the head stuff, and we realized people are bashing their brains in, and they're becoming, they're getting Alzheimer's and becoming, vegetables later in life. Like, you know, I just, it's like, did we feel bad about watching football last year? I didn't. I mean, look, granted, we didn't know as much as we know now, and we didn't have vaccines, but look, life goes on. You kind of got it. You manage the risk as well as you can. There were players who opted out. If they didn't want to play, they could have opted out. I mean, several players on the Patriots opted out. So yeah, I don't really get the. It's maybe this isn't even the ridiculous take of the week. This is like buzzkill of the week. Like, really? Like, come on, I'm supposed to feel bad about watching football? Like, really? I mean, yeah, I was watching football last year because yeah, it was on. I mean, I'm glad they got the season on. I mean, there was a speculation they might not even play. I mean, I didn't feel bad about watching the NFL. I didn't feel bad about watching college. You know, I mean, they didn't have fans there for a lot of the games. So, you know, and then she's like, well, they had to postpone games. And I'm just like, so, you know, they postponed some games. They still got it. They got the season in. I mean, hey, life goes on. You know, you know, they've got not that money means everything, but they had those TV contracts. You got to get the games in. So, yeah, I don't. That's one of those things that kind of floating around sports every now and then. It's like, oh, well, should we feel bad about this, or should we not be able to enjoy this because of what's going on in the world? And I'm just like, guys, there's always stuff going on in the world. People have this tendency to think that, you know, well, now is special. Now is different from the past. The things that are going on now are so much worse than what was going on, you know, years past. But it's like, guys, there's always something going on. There was something going on in the 90s. There was stuff going on in the 80s. There was stuff in the 70s. You know, there was stuff in the 1800s. You know, gotta take a drink here. But
yeah, I think I understand. No, I if there was any time to not feel bad about watching football and try to enjoy it, I think it was last season.
Yeah, I think people need to kind of get, you know, there's definitely maybe times to feel bad about stuff. I mean, yeah, if you want to maybe look back on, you know, the 80s and the 90s when you're watching football and you're celebrating big hits on people and then realizing later, oh yeah, they're getting CTE because we're bashing their skull in, you know, like, okay, maybe, you know, I can kind of see that, but at the same time, we didn't really know. And so I guess maybe they're making that comparison, like, oh, well, we didn't know enough about COVID yet, and we didn't know what was safe and what wasn't, and, you know, yeah, but I mean, again, life goes on. You know, you kind of manage the risk and you do the best you can.
Yeah,
You know,
there were a lot of there was a lot of things to feel negative about in the world in general, and so but I don't think both things can be true, right? Yes, we can be in
yeah,
a
that's my point. You can
global
compartmentalize.
pandemic,
You can have. I
and
mean, that's the other thing. We can, and it's also something I've seen with athletes almost, where they're kind of um, like you see some athletes like, well, things are going on. I don't think I want to play, and it's like that didn't used to be the ethos that was going around. It used to be like, well, all this stuff is going on, and of course I'm gonna play, you know, because that's, you know, we need to kind of get our minds off it for a little bit. This is my job. This is what I do for a living. I'm gonna go do this.
well,
You know.
and I think we realized pretty quickly we're getting a visitor. I think we realized pretty, last season
So,
that
yeah.
we needed sports. Like we actually need it. Like it brings people together. It's actually um, creates something for us to look forward to. So I think that the positives far outweigh the negatives. You know what I
Well,
mean?
and let me ask you this, just on a sort of a related note. I mean, did people feel bad last year watching the Tiger King? Remember the Tiger King?
A little
I mean,
bit. I felt a
I mean,
little
I
bit
guess
bad.
you could say you felt a little bad for all those tigers. I mean, I get
But
that.
it didn't stop me from watching it. And by the way, anybody saying that about sports last year didn't stop anybody from watching it. So,
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
exactly. Yeah. So, you know, it's again, I'm not saying we can't feel bad about different things and whatever else, but you can still take time out to enjoy stuff. I don't want to promote the idea that we need to, like, stuff's bad, so I need to be sitting around depressed all the time, you know.
yep.
I mean, there's New Orleans just got totally screwed over by that hurricane, you
Right.
know. But I mean, you know, the Saints are still going to play football, and I'm sure like people there, if they get a chance to watch football, that, you know, they'll probably watch some football. Not that it diminishes, you know, how destructive that hurricane was, but you know.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the ridiculous take of the week.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good one. It's a good one. So Cam Newton got cut by the Patriots this week. Not only is Mac
So
Jones going to be the starter, but
I was actually I was listening to the Dan Patrick show because I had a dentist appointment that morning on Tuesday morning. So I went to the dentist, and then afterwards I'm like, the dentist is done. So I went to McDonald's, got some breakfast. And so, you know, I hear like they is on, you know, it's funny on the Dan Patrick show when they get breaking news, they play that old like CBS or like ABC, like duh, 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 you know, he's like,
right.
breaking news, Cam Newton was cut. We're like, whoa, And I was in the car. I was like, whoa. Maybe I probably shouldn't have been that way, but it was just it was a little bit surprising, I guess, in the moment. What did you think of because there's a lot, obviously, speculation about why it was that he got cut. What do you think was kind of the constellation of reasons why he got cut?
I think that the mishap, whatever happened with the COVID, the mishap or whatever, I think that definitely
Yeah.
um,
Colin
but
Cowherd was saying he had a source that told him that was the last straw with the Patriots, even though Belichick came out and I think he said this didn't have anything to do with it.
well,
Um,
I think that definitely bothered the franchise and the coaches. I also think there's something to the idea that we want to go with Mac Jones and we don't want any other
yeah, and then there was
distractions.
speculation that maybe Cam had just said, look, if I'm not going to be the starter, then I don't want to be here, so just cut me. That might have happened too.
Right. And you have to add in the fact that risk reward, right? They weren't really paying him a lot of money. Didn't have a big
Yeah.
guaranteed contract.
And look,
So,
I was listening to, in fact, I was trying to come up with another ridiculous take of the week. And I was like, oh, let me just listen to Clay Travis because I'm sure he'll give me something ridiculous. But he actually made somewhat of a fair point about the Cam Newton thing. He's saying he's saying basically I think if you have vaccine immunity from COVID or natural immunity, meaning you got it and recovered from it, I don't think you should be subject to the same restrictions as someone else who's unvaccinated who hasn't had COVID before. Now, I think there definitely is research on that saying the natural immunity is if as good, if not more better than vaccine immunity. So he's like, why is there why I guess Clay Travis was saying, why is Cam Newton being subject to the same sort of onerous restrictions that someone else who's unvaccinated is? And I understand that. I think there's a point to that. That's sort of just a criticism of the NFL's whole COVID vaccination policy. But at the same time, those are the rules. And if you want to be the starting quarterback or you want to be a reliable player on the team, not getting vaccinated doesn't really look good. And by the way, people are criticizing Cam Newton. People aren't talking about the fact that Lamar Jackson's gotten COVID twice and he's not vaccinated. So that could end up coming back to bite the Ravens, at some point later in the season. But yeah, I think Cam should have. Now, even if he had done that, do you think Mac Jones might have just taken over at some point in the season? I don't know, because Cam's he's been injured. He's not very accurate. He's kind of on the downside of his career. So
yeah, I am surprised football wise. I am surprised that they did that because it kind of if you're gonna go with the rookie, it seems to me like you would want some kind of protection. But
yeah,
obviously,
but
Bill,
at the
but
same time,
but this is
he may not have wanted to do that.
right. But this is the thing with Bill Belichick is that he does it however he wants to do it. And
Yeah.
so that, they chose to not give Tom Brady an extension and it kind of came back to bite him. So does this kind of come back to bite him? You know what I mean?
Well, they got rid of Garoppolo too, so
Right. You know, if, you know, it doesn't work out but, at the end of the day, I mean, we'll talk about this later when I talk about, that I don't think the Patriots are going to the Super Bowl, so I'm not sure, they might as well go with them. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with
yeah.
going, but it surprises me, there's a bunch of teams in the NFL that surprised me with what they did or didn't do with their backup quarterback situation. So yeah, but I will say, listen, I'm just gonna go out here. I'm not a believer in Mac Jones. I
Yeah,
think,
I mean, and I think later we'll talk a little bit about Tua because they both played at Alabama. I think just something that's getting, it's obviously, look, when you're evaluating players, you're evaluating what they did in college because that's all you have, right? But at the same time, you got to really be careful because college is very different from the NFL, particularly when you played at Alabama. And Alabama they have most of the best players in pretty much every game they go into. So, it's very it's very difficult. Like, I guess the simplest way you could break it down is that, in college, things are kind of receivers get wide open and you have all this space. In the NFL, everything's cluttered. The pocket's cluttered. The receivers and the defensive backs are cluttered around, and you have to kind of figure out your way through it. And it's just very difficult to evaluate players when, I mean, Mac Jones is throwing to guys. He's throwing to guys who are probably better than the guys covering them. He's throwing to guys who are wide open. He's got a great running game. He's got a great offensive line, you know. So,
Yeah, I think
it's just, if you go back to his evaluation, was he evaluated as some sort of elite guy? No.
no, I think they're looking for a guy who can do what they need him to do. I think the
Yeah. And it was kind of interesting. Like, Ryan Russillo was on Colin Cowherd yesterday, and he made some good points about this. And he's just kind of like, 10 wins for the Patriots. I think that's kind of pushing it. And they're like, yeah, I mean, the defense should be better because they had a bunch of guys opt out last year. They'll be back, and Belichick's a defensive guy. Okay. And, they're saying the offensive line's good and the running game's good. But remember, the receivers still aren't good. The receivers weren't good when Brady was there. Okay. And Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time. So it's kind of like, oh, well, he'll just what? I mean, those receivers aren't going to, are they going to be able to get separation? Is he going to be able to see? He hasn't played in the NFL. Is he going to be, because Brady could figure out a way to work through it because, him and the offensive coordinator would just kind of, all right, I can see what's coming up next. Mac Jones isn't going to be able to see what's coming up next. And maybe he will eventually, but not now. He hasn't seen anything.
No, the Patriots. It's funny that the Patriots and the Dolphins are basically the same team. They're trying to limit their quarterback, so he doesn't have to try to win it himself. The Patriots are going to run the ball. Their offensive line's pretty good. They're going to try to keep.
They could win 12 games, and I'm like, and people are like rating them above the Dolphins. I'm like, why are they that far above the Dolphins? I mean, I'm not like huge into Tua, but Tua's at least played 9 games in the NFL,
right.
And I mean, I saw it I could see in the preseason, again, I don't want to take too much from the preseason, but I saw some stuff in the preseason where it's like, okay, here's what they're going to try to do with Tua. They've got some speed on offense now with the running backs and the receivers. So it's going to be like, okay, we're going to, as I've heard some analysts say, they're going to try to RPO people to death. So run pass option people. So where it's basically like Tua sits in the shotgun, he takes the snap, he puts the ball into the stomach of the running back, and as he does that, he reads the defense and decides either to hand the ball off or throw the ball, And look, I think that they can be successful just based on the fact that their defense is good. And if Tua kind of sticks within that system, they can win some games. But why would you rate the Patriots way above the Dolphins?
Yeah, they're close together. I think they'll be close together no matter what.
I mean, Tua can move. I mean, again, Tua's not really a runner, but he can move way more than Mac Jones can. Right. I mean, you saw that last year in a few times. So,
no, I think they're about this. They're about the same. I think they have limited quarterbacks, so they're going to be limited in what they can do. They have to win a certain type of way, but you can win a lot of games that way.
Yeah, it's just you can't. I don't think you can be elite that way.
Right.
Which is why when Greeny said on I think Tuesday, like, I think the Patriots are one of the top 4 teams in the AFC. He's like, I think they can be scary good. I'm like, what? And then I hear people going, well, Mac Jones might be Tom Brady 2.0. And I'm like, no. Like, Tom Brady 2.0 would be like 6'4", 225, can run, and he's really good in the pocket. Like, what? Why would Mac Jones be Tom Brady 2.0?
Right. The other thing is that I heard that I thought was weird was like, okay, there were 5 quarterbacks drafted in the first round, and people saying, I think all 5 of them are good.
No.
And you just statistically that would be the craziest thing that's ever happened. I mean,
Colin Cowherd pointed that out. He's like, you're going to get like, I think he said like what, 1 or 2 are going to be busts.
Right.
Yeah.
That's generally how it works.
Land in the organization, but
right. It's about 50. The going rate is about 50% on first round quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So the idea that all 5 of these guys are going to be fantastic, I think all 5 of them can play. You know what I mean? But I just think the bar for quarterbacks is just so much higher than it used to be. You know, to actually go out and win some games, that's not, nobody drafted a quarterback in the first round to go out and win some games. They drafted these guys
Draft
because
the
they,
guy to be your franchise quarterback.
right,
You
right.
know
So the idea that we've got five franchise quarterbacks in one draft is, I
that
think,
doesn't. I mean, yeah, you.
asinine.
That's okay. Let's try to go back into other drafts and see where you got multiple like the '83 draft. Is it the '83 or '84?
83, yeah.
You had Marino, Jim Kelly, John Elway, and even like, you know, Ken O'Brien for the Jets. He was the quarterback for several years. And then you had Tony Eason for the Patriots, who actually made the Super Bowl. So, like, yeah, but that's like,
Right.
that's elite. Like, you don't see that.
That's one in a million, and that had three Hall of Famers in it. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, it's very rare. You know, the 2004 draft had Eli Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, and Philip Rivers. You know, so could we get two guys who are spectacular? Sure, but the idea that all five of these guys are going to be fantastic is a bit ridiculous. All right,
Yeah.
so let's move on to Tua. Like the rumors of the Dolphins trading for trying to trade for Deshaun Watson are flying all over the place. So yeah, so I'm not. I mean, I'm not surprised the Dolphins were talking to the Texans about trading for him back in
Yeah.
February
Because
or
Sean
March.
Watson's more talented than Tua.
Yeah, I hate to break it to I
It's
know.
not, that's not even a debate. That's not even, I shouldn't, like, there should be, it's basically like he's more talented than Tua. Done. Full stop. Like, we don't even need to go on. Like,
Yeah, so some people might classify us as Dolphin haters. We are not Dolphin haters. We have just been abused and mistreated for so long that we have lost trust. So we
Well,
have
they've
a hard
screwed up the
time.
quarterback like 3 or 4 times since Marino retired. I mean,
Three or four.
I don't need to go on and on and on about this, but I just will. Like, if Justin Herbert ends up having a, Hall of Fame career, the Dolphins could have drafted him, and now they don't. Now they don't have him, and they had a draft pick. They could have drafted Justin. Can you imagine if they had Justin Fields on this team? I mean, I know he doesn't have NFL experience, but he'd be playing on a much better. Like with the Bears, the problem is like he could be really good. With the Bears, I don't know because they're kind of a mess. But like you didn't pick those guys, and now you can't have it back. And now the team's so good that they're not going to get a high draft pick. So I don't know. You know,
Yeah,
it's
so it's
just
funny. It's so funny you said that because what I was basically going to say, was going to bring up was, the question comes out. Well, are the Dolphins, bailing on, are they bailing on Tua too quick? Are they blah blah blah? And then you just said they should have drafted Justin Fields.
yeah. I mean, you can't like. I just particularly because I mean, look, you look at it and it's like there's well, first of all, there's so many signs that the Dolphins they see him in every day. They see him in practice. They've obviously seen him in games, so they know more than us. So you got to look why what they say, what their actions, what they don't say, what their actions say, and you know they first of all when they pulled Ryan Fitzpatrick out of from the starting role, like it was odd. And you heard, and like I heard Mark Schlereth say this, he thinks that decision came from the owner because it just didn't make sense because Fitzpatrick was making plays, they were scoring points, the team was, they were 500 but they were good, you know. So why would you all of a sudden go there, and Fitzpatrick saying, yeah, I was kind of heartbroken by it. You wonder, well, he's seeing him in practice, does he think that he's just not ready? So it's like, okay, well, all right, fine, let's see. And then you know, there's a couple times where they pulled him out of the game last year, and some of it people are like, why would you do that? And I'm like, well, this is their second year. They didn't make the playoffs last year. They started off the year horribly, so they're trying to win now, you know. So it's basically like, and I think that they were watching these games going, we should be able to move the ball at least a little bit, and Tua wasn't able to do anything. So there's like, fine, we'll put Fitzpatrick in, you know. So you got that. Then you go into the offseason and Deshaun Watson wants to get traded. He particularly wants to go to the Dolphins. Okay. So And by the way, if there wasn't all of this sexual assault harassment allegations out there, he probably would have been traded already.
Right.
Teams, I just don't think teams want to do anything with that because they don't know, is he going to be able to play this year? When is this stuff going to come out? Is he going to go to jail? Is it how much of a suspension? Because I guarantee you that once the legal stuff works itself out, the NFL will suspend him for some length of time. I don't know how long. So it's like, is he going to be out this year? Okay, fine. Well, is he going to play this year? But then next year, is he out next year? And then into the year after that? Like, so teams just don't want to risk it. But the Dolphins, so it comes out that the Dolphins are kind of in discussions about this. And it's like, well, of course they are. They see Tua, and Deshaun Watson's more talented than him. Right. So it may not even be necessarily a reflection on Tua. It's just like, if Aaron Rodgers was on the trade block, don't you think the Dolphins would be trying to get him?
Right.
As would a few other teams.
It would be irresponsible for them not to.
Yeah. But it does kind of say that they don't have as much faith in Tua, So, yeah, and Rich Eisen was talking about this, and he's saying, he had a whole segment. He's like, I don't get why people are bailing on Tua so quickly, And I'm like, he kind of brought up the college thing, and I'm just like, guys, is this all it is with Tua? We're just literally, he looked off a safety in the national championship game and, he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, is that what's going on here? Like, I just don't get it, And he's like, yeah, I mean, he won games last year, and it's like, we didn't just get Tua to win games. The Dolphins got him to be an elite quarterback because he was the number 5 pick?
Right.
Yeah. You don't draft somebody number 5 to, he's good, No. And Rich Eisen is like, I'm not really a stat head, and it's like, okay, fine, that's fine. The layman doesn't really watch all this stuff, but when you talk to people who watch this stuff, Tua was not impressive last year at all. I mean, the Arizona game was kind of it, and I mean, they played the Broncos. They should have beaten the Broncos last year. He couldn't move the ball at all, and by the time they pulled him out and put Fitzpatrick in, it was too late.
All right, let's.
They probably would have made the playoffs.
Let's not spend the whole podcast Tua bashing. We'll have time to do that.
Yeah,
later.
He's probably a nice guy, and you know what? I think they can probably win some games with him this year. But
he's a nice guy, but get him out of here. I'm done.
Yeah,
no,
sorry.
I listen. I agree with almost everything you're saying. We'll see what happens this year. I mean, look, the Dolphins have kind of made their bed with this, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I think. The idea that, you shouldn't have that rumors come out when you're supposed to be putting all your support behind him. You know what? This is a business. Like, if you play well or you get replaced. We all have jobs. We have to do them the right way.
For most of us.
Right. We have to perform, we have to produce, or we get replaced or demoted or whatever. So I understand it, but it's, it's kind of the way it is. If you play well, you don't have to worry about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right. So moving on. So this is my segment here. I've listened to a bunch of people talk about different teams, and I want to just set the record straight here. Okay. So these are my you're not going to the Super Bowl predictions.
Instead of you're going to the Super Bowl, instead of who the contenders are, let's talk about who the non-contenders are.
Let's just straighten this out so we're all on the same page, okay? Yeah. So first I'm going to do my not going to the playoffs. So these are the teams that are rebuilding. I hate to tell you, fan bases of all these teams, I'm here to say you're not going to the playoffs.
Wait a minute. In terms of who's not making the playoffs, so there are 7 seeds in each conference, so there's 14 teams. So that means there's 32 teams in the league. So 22. So there's 18 teams that will not make the playoffs.
Right. And these are the ones that I can tell you right now, today, we know, not going to the playoffs. Okay? So, the New York Jets. I don't even think I need to say anything else. You're the New York Jets.
Joke here. No, sorry.
Right. Whatever joke you want, send us your best. We'll try to get it on the podcast. They drafted
Fireman Ed.
Yep, Fireman Ed. Yeah,
whatever the hell that guy's name is.
Right. So they drafted a rookie quarterback. They got rid of Sam Darnold. It's a new GM that took over before last season. So this is basically a straight up rebuild. The whole goal for the Jets this year is don't get Zach Wilson killed, and let's hope they make some kind of progress. Cincinnati Bengals. On this list, I think the Cincinnati Bengals are probably the best team that I can say is not
Yeah.
going to make the playoffs. You got Joe Burrow injured last year, so not a great job by you.
You didn't draft an offensive lineman.
Right. Didn't bother to draft an offensive lineman, even though everybody with a television knows that's one of your main weaknesses. So I like where they're at in terms of, hey, you got the quarterback. It looks like you got some weapons around him. They got some things to work with. Can you play this season smart, not have your quarterback
All right.
throw it 50 times?
Sorry. Got a dog fight going
All right.
on here.
Susie,
Sorry.
take it easy.
Okay, guys, relax. Apparently, they're New York Jets fans. Who knows? Jeez. This is a
Yeah, so all right, so that's Cincinnati
got a
for you.
little infighting going on here. Sorry.
Yep.
I don't know if you guys caught the part about I think maybe they're New York Jets fans and they were upset that we don't think the Jets are going to make the playoffs. But this is the Dolphins household, damn it.
That's right. Jacksonville Jaguars. Not going to go to the playoffs.
Yeah, no.
You got the number one pick for a reason.
Yeah.
I like, you took Trevor Lawrence, but the cupboard is really bare there. They've really got nothing going on. Next, Houston Texans.
Yeah,
Even with Deshaun Watson, they were 4-12 last year. So, without Deshaun Watson, I can't imagine how bad they would be. They should be trying to decide what quarterback they're going to draft with the number one pick right now. Next, Philadelphia Eagles. Replace the coach. I don't know if anybody's watched the press conferences with the Eagles coach. He's going to be one to watch this year. He sounds like a complete mess. Can't get through a sentence correctly. I don't know what.
Yeah, by the way, what the hell's going on with the Eagles? Because they had Andy Reid for 13, 14 years or whatever. And people are like, oh, they're one of the most well-run teams in the league. And then they get Chip Kelly. That doesn't work. Then they get Doug Peterson, and it's kind of working, and, then it kind of everything falls through with Carson Wentz. He keeps getting hurt, and there's, a bunch of stuff going on. And then now they've totally cleaned house, and now they seem like they're a mess. Like what? I don't, that's how you're not making the Super Bowl and much less making the playoffs. When people look at your team and go, that is just a mess, you're not making the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah. So Philadelphia's got a long way to go. They're trying to figure out if Jalen Hurts is the guy. We'll see how that goes. He's not. Yeah. Detroit Lions. I mean, this is a place you're usually in, so they're relatively used to this. But you traded the one good player that you had.
It seems like they hired a high school gym teacher to be their coach. I mean, the way this guy talks.
Yeah, so Dan Campbell used to coach the Dolphins, so we're familiar with this guy's spiel. This guy should be the most entertaining soundbite all season. This guy should be every post-game press conference should be broadcast worldwide. This guy is going to be hysterical.
Yeah.
All right, so those are the teams not going to playoffs. Now I'm going to go through some teams that possibly could make the playoffs. All right. So we're going to go through the teams that are not going to the Super Bowl. Okay. All right.
Okay.
I'm going to try to group these together. Excuse me. All right. We just talked about the Dolphins and the Patriots. Yeah. We enumerated all the reasons. Yeah. They're not going to the Super Bowl. Like, listen, you might be good enough with a good enough.
So we can make a case they could make the playoffs, but.
Right. You might be good enough over 17 games to make playoffs, but you're not winning playoff games with those teams. I mean, come on. Let's be real here. The Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger's basically on his last legs. So I think at best they're third in the division, in their own division, and I don't think they've got anywhere near what they would need. Tennessee. I mean, I hate to go back to the quarterback every single time, but Ryan Tannehill won a playoff game against the Patriots where he completed 8 passes. So
yeah.
So, I like I like their team, good running game, solid, but nothing special.
Yeah,
You got it
playoff team. They're competitive, but they're not.
right. You want to win the Super Bowl, you got to be special. San Diego Chargers or Los Angeles Chargers now, excuse me. Like them a lot. Like Justin Herbert. Like some of their young talent. They got a rookie head coach, so it's the future is bright. But
Division is tough. So I mean, you're going to have to. I mean, I don't think you're going to win that division. So you're going to have to get in as a wild card. So
right. So yeah, not gonna go to the Super Bowl this year. The Denver Broncos. I mean, the Denver Broncos are just basically waiting to try to make a trade for whoever becomes available. Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, whatever it is. They have a really nice roster though. Their defense is fantastic. They have good offensive talent, but Teddy Bridgewater won the starting quarterback job. When Teddy Bridgewater is beating out your quarterback,
yeah, you don't really have a quarterback.
that tells me you're not going to the Super Bowl.
No Super Bowl for you.
That's right. The new Las Vegas Raiders, the John Gruden experiment, I think, is almost over, but I think they're going to have to stomach another year at least. They are.
Remember, he's got a 10-year contract, so
Yeah,
we
we'll
have to
see.
stomach another 5.
Yeah, we'll see. But I like Derek Carr. I like their, I like their team, but they don't have again.
Well, what Peter King was saying is that they've drafted they've got some young players there who need to really play well. If they do, okay, maybe they can be good, but Super Bowl winning, like no.
Right, right. Not going to win multiple playoff
And
games that
John
way.
Gruden's teams just basically seem to, even if they start off well, they tend to tail off at the end of the year.
Yep.
For whatever it's worth, I mean, people going around thinking that Gruden's like a really, really great coach. He's got a Super Bowl, but I don't know. I mean, he's decent, but to say he's great, I don't know.
Right. All right. So this is a good one here. The entire NFC East. Okay, I'm just gonna run this all together real quick because we could go 10 minutes on each team. We're not gonna do that. The Cowboys underachieved like they always do. Okay, the defense was horrific last year. There's no way the defense is gonna be fantastic this year, and their starting quarterback is starting off the season, kind of banged up. And again, another thing that I don't understand is no backup quarterback.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what planet they were on, so they're basically completely dependent on Dak. The Washington Redskins, nice defense, but they've got Ryan Fitzpatrick. We've seen how far you can go with Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Well, remember, somebody's got to win that division. So one of those teams is going to go to the playoffs, so they're not winning the Super Bowl.
Right. The New York Giants, again, young quarterback. They're kind of hoping their GM kind of figures it out with the rest of the roster. I think Washington and the Giants are kind of moving in the right direction, but yeah, none of these teams are going to the Super Bowl. I made a bet with somebody when I was gone this weekend. I said that the Dolphins would win more games than the Cowboys this year. And I feel confident about the Dolphins winning more games than the Cowboys. It does concern me the beginning of the Dolphins' schedule is pretty difficult. So,
well, yeah, I think that bet may look bad at the beginning of the season and better at the end of the season, maybe
Right.
potentially. I mean,
Right.
the Cowboys, we'll see what's going on with Dak Prescott's shoulder. I mean, they could start off pretty bad too. I mean, they're going to start off 0-1 because they're not beating the Bucks. I'm
Right.
sorry.
So amazingly enough, I had to keep all three of those teams from the NFC East, other than Philadelphia, who's not going to make the playoffs. I had to keep them all in the playoff discussion because their division is so bad. But I don't really believe any of them
Somebody's
are
got to win it.
right. I don't believe any of them are legitimate playoff teams in any other division.
Yeah.
All right, the Bears and the Vikings. The Bears are. You got to feel good if you're a Bears fan. But I just want to just to comment on that. So Bears fans, okay? I want to speak to the Bears fans right now. Look, relax, okay? Take it easy. Justin Fields will be in there eventually, okay? Like
Yeah, people need to stop rushing. Just
it's fine. Now listen, the Bears coaches are under some pressure, which may influence how fast this gets done because they made the playoffs last year. and they need to do well. They need to win games this year. So their situation is they're going to do whatever is best to win games. And we all know Andy Dalton is not taking you to the Super Bowl. So,
Win
you know,
games, but
right. So just relax. Justin Fields will be in there eventually. There's no reason for him to go out there and get killed behind a bad offensive line.
guys, you finally have a potential franchise quarter. The Bears have never had that,
Right.
ever. I
Right.
mean, what? You're gonna go back to Jim McMahon? I mean, he kept getting hurt, and he was only there for a few years. So
Yeah, listen, as Dolphins fans, we would trade places with you in a heartbeat.
yeah. We
So,
kind of said that earlier. I wish they would have drafted Justin
so
Fields.
stop complaining, everything's fine. All right, the Minnesota Vikings. I'm going to come up with I've got a general rule for this NFL season. Ready? No vaccines, no titles. Okay? So Kirk Cousins, I don't care how smart you think you are. Okay? I don't like that. Okay? So,
You're also not being there for your team.
I mean, come on, dude.
Complain about the rules all you want. Those are the rules, and if you don't do something as simple as just getting the damn vaccine, then you could potentially be out a while. So you're not really helping your team.
Your coach has been all over this. Your basically attitude is if I die, I die. Well, you know what? With that moronic attitude, that tells me right there, not going to the Super Bowl. All right, so the Saints. I've heard some talk on the Saints. People seem to think that the Saints might be pretty good this year, and I'm here to tell you.
Look, to me, their ceiling would be making the playoffs,
right?
And even that's maybe a little. Maybe a little bit of a reach.
I don't buy it at all. I don't believe in any of this Saints stuff. I think Jameis Winston is fine, but the drop off from everyone's acting like, oh, Drew Brees couldn't throw the ball down the field. Yeah, but the drop off in decision making from one guy to the other, is gigantic. Okay, I like the Saints team, but the Michael Thomas is out now. Like I think they're going to be okay. They're going to be average, but I don't believe in any of this stuff that they're going to be good. They might have a shot at the playoffs. The Atlanta Falcons, pretty much a snake bitten franchise ever since they lost that Super Bowl. I think they
should be good. They were good offensively last year, so
again, solid team. They got a lot of good things going for them. But they got a brand new head coach. I think that's probably a good thing. But them and the same thing with the Carolina Panthers and the Arizona Cardinals. Nice teams. I like some of the things that they have, but they're not. There's nothing special, nothing interesting going on there. So that leaves us with the contenders. So these are teams I think are probably, 90% likely to make the playoffs and have a great shot to win the Super Bowl. So in the AFC, it's Buffalo, Cleveland, Baltimore, Indianapolis, and Kansas City. Any objections to any of those?
No, I don't think so. I think you can put the Colts in there. I don't, obviously I think the Chiefs, we probably both think the Chiefs are going to win the AFC barring injury or something weird happening. The Colts, I would say, are maybe the team that I'm most concerned about just based on Carson Wentz having an injury. And also the past few years, Carson Wentz has been kind of up and down. And, I'm not really sure what to – plus they got T.Y. Hilton is injured. So, yeah. But I don't have a problem putting them – I guess I don't have a problem putting them in there because I can see the potential. But that's probably the team I would be like, I don't feel as good about.
Yeah,
the other team I feel much better about.
My argument for them is the Colts should be in the contender discussion, replacing the Patriots. I know a lot of people love to put the Patriots in this discussion, and to me, the Colts, somebody's going to win that division because the division is terrible, and I think the Colts are clearly going to win that division. Any team that I already know is going to have a home playoff game.
Yeah,
I feel pretty good about it.
Say Carson Wentz kind of gets back to the way he was playing that one year when they started off 11-2 in Philadelphia. Like, okay, with the roster that the Colts have, okay.
Right. And then in the NFC, Green Bay, Tampa, San Francisco, Seattle, and the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah. Russillo was talking about the Rams. He was saying what was it? That Jared Goff was terrible against pressure. And I think there was one other thing you mentioned, and Matt Stafford is way better against pressure. So, and he pointed out that, McVay had Goff for a few years there, and he was able to, they kept winning games, and he was able to get the offense, to do pretty well, even with Jared Goff. So you figure they have Stafford there, you'd think
As a side note, Chris Sims, he said that Tua is better than Jared Goff, which I thought was nice. Nice
really.
compliment for him
All
to
right.
say. San Francisco, San Francisco's another team. Guys, calm down on the backup quarterback discussion. Jimmy Garoppolo took them to the Super Bowl, so Trey Lance will be
Healthy,
ready.
they can run the ball and play defense that way, they can be really good. So, yeah.
Yeah, Garoppolo will be just fine. I know we all are wowed by Trey Lance, and that's great. And I think he'll probably play a little bit. But, I think
yeah, I mean, look, like I said, if they're healthy, they can run the ball like that. I mean, people are like, oh, the Bucks. Yeah, the Bucks are great, but the Bucks didn't have to play the 49ers last year. If the Bucks had to play the 49ers, look, the way to beat any good quarterback is get pressure right in his face. Okay. So, and keep him off the field by running the ball. So yeah, they could win the Super Bowl. I can see that with Jimmy Garoppolo. With Trey Lance, I'm not really sure because he's, he only played like one game last year from what I heard.
Yeah, so I mean that leaves that leaves me 9.
Yeah. I mean, but I think we kind of, if we were going to look at it, I think we kind
10.
of think Kansas City and probably
Buffalo.
the Bucks. But I'd put the Packers and the 49ers and the Rams right there. So to me, that's kind of the Bills. I don't know about the rest of the team around, besides the offense. I don't know about the rest of the team around Josh Allen. The Browns, I only buy Baker Mayfield so far. I just don't think they can get enough.
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to pass rush. But anyway, yeah, that's all I had. So,
yeah.
Anything else you wanted to?
Can you pause 1 second? Hang on. What are you doing?
So anything else you wanted to run through before we go?
No, I think that's a pretty good list. I think let's just point out to people, like, I know the Cowboys get all kinds of attention. I think we talked about this in like the 3rd episode or the 4th episode, but they're pretty mediocre. They're overpaying. I mean, one of the worst things you can do as a professional sports franchise is pay elite money to, just above average talent, not elite talent. And they're doing that like across the board. And so, yeah, they're kind of locked into being a mediocre team, And also people are like, oh, well, they're relying so much on Dak. Is that really what you want to do? Again, Dak is, he's a good dude. He's a good leader. But, people are like, oh, well, he threw all these touchdowns last year. Yeah, some of that was in garbage time, and some of it was after the team was already behind. So, of course, he had to throw. So, and people are like, oh, well, Ezekiel Elliott he's lost some weight and whatever. And it's like, yeah, Ezekiel Elliott's been playing for like 4 years now. They've been using him like crazy. He's not, people are like, oh, well, maybe he's lost a step. If you've lost a step, that's the whole thing. Okay, so, guys, everybody needs to slow down.
Yeah, unless Dak Prescott plays at an MVP level, it's going to be really tough for them to consistently win because I just don't. There's no way you can fix that defense that quickly, and the offensive line's starting to get older. So I think the Cowboys may come out, play well early, but once the offensive line starts to kind of falter, they're gonna.
Yeah, that's the other thing, guys. The offensive line, like you and you pointed that we were texting yesterday, and you pointed this out, like with the Dolphins, we're like, well, how long is the defense going to be great? People get this idea that it's like, oh, well, we have a great defense, and we'll have a great defense for the next 5 or 6 years. No, that's not the way these things work. Okay, you might have an elite unit for 2 or 3 years, maybe, but even by the 3rd year, it's kind of like you've lost some people. You weren't able to re-sign everybody. People get older. People get hurt, and then you're not as elite as you once were. So. They were saying that the Cowboys had an elite offensive line in 2014, and they did. Okay. But that was 7 years ago. So you gotta account for that.
Yep.
So, yeah. So yeah, all those things, to quote like Seinfeld, no soup for you, no Super Bowl for you. Yeah. Anything else? What else were we gonna talk about?
That's all I had down.
Right. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. No, we got NFL coming up next weekend. We got college football today. We got when did Miami or Clemson plays
Georgia tonight. Yep.
on tonight or Sunday night?
Saturday night. Yep.
Saturday night. Oh, okay. So that's a good one to watch. And even I was listening to some stuff. I mean, Georgia could still either one of those teams could still make the playoff after losing this game.
Yep.
It kind of depends on for instance, Georgia could potentially say Georgia were to lose. If they come back and go all the way through and then win the SEC championship game, they could still get in. Clemson, I mean, does anybody else think someone up? Do people think anyone else is going to win the ACC besides Clemson? I mean, people were up on North Carolina. They just lost to Virginia Tech. So yeah, some fun stuff coming. We're finally back in football season. We're out of off season and trying to come up with topics. So,
all right, boys and girls, episode 6 in the books.
That's right.
All right, see you next time.
See you for